This is a relentless game, turning life's chaos into power. This is a relentless game, I've been out grinding 10,000 hours. This is a relentless game, always put my faith inside of God that won't ever stop. Turning life's chaos into power. This is a relentless game.
The Relentless Game, turning life's chaos into power. We got Coach Christian here, Seth Humphrey. Today we're going to talk about the lie that nobody talks about. And so this was why strong men choose to suffer alone. You know, if we're looking at everything, spring break just got done with, and guys will get done with spring break. They are, and this I just did a post on this yesterday. It was like, when you're on spring break and you're leaving, like the roller coaster is at the top of the peak, you're loving, you got time with your family. You understand.
Yeah,
this. You get time with your family. You're at this place where you're getting to enjoy time together. You're getting to do things you want to do. You're probably going for runs and waking up and having a good breakfast and just doing living life, having a good time. And then we get back to reality. And when we get back to reality, it's that roller coaster has to come down. There's no other, we can't go back up any higher. It's at the top of its peak and it has to go down. And that's where most guys find themselves, is they find themselves where they come back down to reality and they don't have anyone to like share their problems or the issues or the struggles or the things that the stories they're telling themselves, and they're believing everything underneath the sun, and they're isolating themselves. And so that's I guess the first question I would ask you: what season in your life was there a season in your life where you identified that you had been isolating maybe and trying to play the game of life by yourself and find yourself in this place of where you call it self-sufficiency, where it's actually isolation? Have you ever found yourself in that place, and where were you and what was it?
Yeah, definitely. So whenever I just got back from my trip in Gulf Shores with my family, man, I was so grateful that our quarterly fell on the weekend and the day that it did, because a lot of times I'd come back from a vacation and it takes you a minute to like get back into your groove and dial things back in, get back into your routine. But man, like the next morning I came up here and coached, and then after that got some rest. And then the following day we had our quarterly where we're, refocusing on our targets and talking about our targets and what pivots do we need to make. But I was around you guys, and you guys are, you're chasing your next targets as well. And so that just like instilled that fire in me again of like, dude, I'm ready to log back in. Like, it just gave me that momentum so much quicker than it normally would. And I would say, man, before the GA, the season of my life that I would be in is, I would have goals and stuff for myself, but I was a huge procrastinator. And I would be in that by myself. And so it's just me beating myself up of knowing there's things I need to get done and things that I said I wanted to achieve, but I would push it off to the last minute. Or some of those things I wanted to achieve, I wouldn't have a deadline for them, and I wouldn't have anybody to hold me accountable to a deadline. And so like, it would be things that I would want to do, but I didn't have we'll let ourselves down 9 times out of 10. But if we have other guys around us and other guys that we told, hey, I'm going to do this on this date, like I'm going to be more prone to get things done. And so before the GA, like there was things that I wanted to do, but I wouldn't get outside of my comfort zone because I didn't have, brothers to talk me up or instill, success within me. And so I would just kind of put things on the back burner, and I just didn't have anybody to really communicate those things to.
What did that cost you? And then like, what were some of the stories that maybe when you were in that isolation part, that maybe some of the stories you were telling yourself during that isolation part? So then like, where was it costing you results in your life? And then what were the stories that were ultimately leading you to making those decisions?
Yeah, well, that's just it, man. It was costing me results in a lot of areas, whether it be being a better husband, whether it be getting better at fitness, competitions that I would sign up for or want to sign up for. I didn't have any want to put myself out there. And it was costing me results in all areas: fitness, family, finances, just because I didn't have clear targets. And even if I didn't have any deadline on those targets or any clear ways to organize it into my current schedule in order to actually get it done. And so it was just costing me results across the board. And with that was just killing my confidence. And whenever my confidence was killed, I would just talk more negative things to myself and say, well, maybe I'm not meant to be that person. Maybe I'm not meant to do this. And man, when your confidence is killed, like you walk into a room differently. Your head's down. You don't want to make eye contact with people because you know that you're lying to yourself behind the scenes. And when you're lying to yourself behind the scenes, it makes it so much harder to show up and even want to show up and put yourself into those environments. It just kept me comfortable with where I was, comfortable with my results, and being comfortable just kept me stuck on the endless cycle of telling myself that I wanted to do these things, but then not doing them.
Yeah. So for me it was 2017, and here's the deal. We talk about we got stories, and you have your life stories that's part of your what's happened in your life. And this is one for me. It was that 18-month lawsuit I was going through. I had some coaches. I had a coach at the time, and I was going through this 18-month non-compete lawsuit, and it was miserable. I would wake up every single day. I would come into the Vitality Mill, but we couldn't market and couldn't advertise it. And that's the story I was telling myself. Couldn't market, couldn't advertise it. And so we were slowly but surely, there was no progress. There was nothing. It wasn't growing like it needed to. And I was so used to having businesses that would thrive and were doing really, really well. But we'd moved to the off beaten path and weren't on a main strip. And then on top of that, we're going through a non-compete lawsuit, and money was just going out left and right. And I found myself struggling. And what really cost me was that coach. And this is why it matters on who you get to coach you, and make sure that they're doing it from a place of love and integrity and care instead of just money. And so what I found myself was, I thought I had this coach that cared for me and loved me, and he told me that. But when the bill didn't get paid because my credit card got declined because I was trying to keep everything afloat, he's hitting me up telling me, "Hey, don't pay this. This is the second time that it's been declined. It gets declined again. I'm gonna have to just move on, and it might not be right fit for you." And I just remember like coming back here, and I remember like it was yesterday. It was on a Saturday, and sitting in the office you're in now, and it was dark inside the Vitality Mill, and I just contemplating like, what am I even doing? Like, here I am, I bust my butt. I've built this business over for the last 11 years back then, about 11 years, and then, or 12 years. And then now I'm sitting in this place where the business is about to burn down, but then also individuals I've surrounded myself that I thought cared, don't care. And so then I just felt alone. I felt, honestly, some crazy thoughts went through my head during that time. And so I think that's where a lot of guys find themselves is like, something's happened to them, and something has beaten them down, and they just are trying to handle it alone. That coach that I was talking about earlier just a few minutes ago, he would always tell me I was like a Brahma bull. He's like, "Seth, you'll just put your head down, and like you'll run through anything and get things done." And he's like, "But if you just looked up every once in a while, you would see that there's actually a door right there that you could just walk through instead of just bulldozing everything down." And I remember thinking like, okay, well, I don't have to try to do this all by myself. And it wasn't anything that the coach did anything wrong. It was just me in that place of being isolated and feeling sorry for myself. And so playing that victim mode. So I'd say that's where my biggest isolation moment went. And just more than anything, when men try to convince themselves, and we're men, so when we try to convince ourselves that we don't need other men, why do you think that is? Because that's probably one of the most powerful. Like we just saw Gibbs this past weekend, like isolate himself throughout this whole 90 days, not really jump on the calls, not really do anything. And then start telling himself a story of like, I don't really need the GA or the Impossible Games or do any of this stuff. I can do it on my own. And then he gets around this again, and it's like, what was I thinking kind of deal? What do you think guys do that for?
Dude, I think that's just the prime example of men being men, like just letting your ego get in the way. But not only that, like with Gibbs, for example, like he just wasn't playing the game to the full effect. And whenever he was at first, he knew what he was capable of. But then whenever he wasn't playing the game, like his new baseline was higher now, because he's like, hey, this is what I know I'm capable of. But now when I'm not playing it, I really feel bad for myself because I know what I could do. I know what I could achieve because we spoke life into him. We showed him the path. And I think that, whenever you know that behind the scenes, you're not doing what you should do, you're not eating the foods that you should, you're not getting into the gym like you regularly should, that's what makes you want to isolate him more and more. Because when you notice, like when Gibbs is in the gym, when he's dropping weight, he's showing up, he's hopping on the calls, he's doing all that. But then when he's not doing those things, he's finding ways to not put himself into the environment around us. And so, man, I think that that's what guys do, is they'll get the results for a little bit and then they think, okay, I got these results on my own. Like they start to go, oh, I did it on my own. We do the same thing with our relationship with God sometimes. Like God will bless us over and over and over again. And we start to kind of go, man, I'm a big dog. Like I achieved a lot of this, but in reality, like God made those things happen. He instilled those skill sets in us to even make us be able to achieve things. He aligned things in the right time for those things to happen. And so at the end of the day, it's not us who's making it happen. It's God, and it's also the guys around us that are allowing us to have those opportunities and build those skill sets, speaking life into us that allow those things to happen. And so just guys, man, we get, our ego gets the best of us. And then once we stop playing the game, and we've seen it with guys that, have worked with us in the GA, like they start to go, oh, I've got it figured out now. You guys showed me the plan. I'm all good. And then they get out of the environment of being around us and they realize, like, hearing, Seth say, hey, what are your wins this week? Like little details like that. Once that's stripped away from them, they realize, like, okay, like I do need guys around me to talk, to hop on a call weekly, or to have clear targets that I'm speaking to them, saying that I'll do them. So that way that I'll actually hold myself to that standard. And we see dudes that'll leave the GA, they'll put on weight, they'll stop doing the simple, non-negotiable things that they were doing with us. And the results start to go in the other direction.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing, is I think that's the trap, is isolation starts to feel like you are self-sufficient, like you can do it on your own, and you feel pretty good about it while you're in the fight. But then when things go wrong, when the resistance hits, when the problems hit, when you don't have a different perspective, when you don't have someone to hold you accountable, then it's quick. That isolation goes to a place of, it can lead to a place of depression and feeling alone and feeling like nobody cares about you. And those things aren't true, because a majority of the guys, like I just had one of the former GA guys reach out to me, two of them. One reached out yesterday to tell me about some business wins he has, and another one hit me up today. And I know that, and I've got actually a meeting today with a former guy that was in the Guerrilla Alliance that just wants to meet up with me. And so for me, in the back end, it was just like, oh, they're going to go do it on their own. Okay, I'm going to show. And then now it's just like, that is the main piece of what the Guerrilla Alliance is we need brotherhood, and you need to have a community, and you need to have people you're around. If you don't have that, then you'll find yourself in that lone wolf place, and that lone wolf always goes hungry. And like you said, we've seen it 100 times over where guys will be rocking and rolling, and they get to that place where they think, oh, I've made it. This is me. I did it. And it's like, yeah, you did it, but you had others around you that were picking you up and pushing you across that finish line whenever you weren't necessarily wanting to do it as well. So what is the difference between being alone and being isolated? What would you think? What would you say, being alone versus being isolated? Because I like having time alone.
Yeah.
You do too.
Yeah.
There's a difference there, though.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all need that time alone where we can
think.
Yeah. You got to think. You got to kind of silence the world a little bit. And I feel like that's where a lot of our deepest thoughts come whenever, for me, it's in the morning. I know for you, you're a morning guy too. Like whenever you have that silence where you can kind of get away from the world, get away from social media and all this other noise, you can actually think and start to put a plan together, start to get some good ideas. So I think being alone is totally fine, but completely isolating. And this is something that guys need to get out of their head too. A lot of guys think it's weak to raise their hand and ask for help, or if they're struggling with something in their marriage, or they're struggling with an addiction, or they're like things like that. And they think, nah, it makes me weak to say something to somebody else. No, what makes you weak is continue to give into those addictions and not raise your hand because you're scared of, oh, they're going to judge me, or they're going to, I'm going to be so ashamed. But like what makes you weak is staying that version of yourself that you continue to, fall victim to. But it's actually strong to raise your hand and ask a brother for help and to reach out and get some help. And what you'll start to notice too is like the dude right beside you struggling with the same thing. And so like you can have a huge breakthrough and really help someone else out if you just raise your hand and say, hey, I'm struggling with this. Because dude, we're all guys. We struggle with a lot of the same things. And so what you'll start to realize is like you struggling with that, so is another one of your brothers. And so like it takes more strength, I think, to raise your hand and say, I need help. I need a performance coach, somebody that's going to help point me in the right direction. That way that I can become the version that I know that I want to be and that I know that God's calling me to be.
Yeah, I just want to get around others and be. I like the community piece of it. And I think a lot of guys miss that community piece of just being able to. We have our Bible studies. We have the Relentless Faith Bible Experience. We got the Bible study here at the Vitality Mill. We've got our quarterlies that we do. We got our call today for the
Mhm.
GA. These are all things that we are getting around to other individuals and sharing insights and things like that. And God created us to do life together.
Yeah.
He didn't create us to isolate, and that's what a lot of men go to is they're trying to play this game of life by themselves, and then wondering why they're struggling, not getting the results that they necessarily want as well. So
Yeah, and I'll be honest, man, like all those things that you just said, the Bible study, showing up to the GA calls and all those things, like putting myself in environments like that is something that I used to run from because I'm a very introverted person, but it kept me that introverted person. Like my communication skills sucked because of it, because I wouldn't put myself in an environment that forced me to kind of build skill sets to communicate. Like, but I would always be, because I was comfortable in my own little shell, in my own little bubble, but it kept me from growing in those areas. So now I have skill sets where I can speak to anybody in the room, where I can pray for any guys in the room. There's little things that the GA has done for me where it's gotten me out of my comfort zone, where I look forward to showing up to those things now. And it's grown the person that I am. It's grown the husband that I am, the coach that I am. And so, just submitting and going, "Hey, I don't have all the answers. I'm not if I continue to be this version that just stays comfortable, then those skill sets I would have never formed, and it would have kept me mediocre in all aspects of my life."
yeah, so you just answered the question I was going to ask. So then I'll ask you again. What was the first thing that changed that like got you from that isolation place to start getting around others and things like that? What changed?
Yeah, for me, it was want to be a better leader for my wife, and that's what landed me here at the Vitality Mill in the first place was, I was working for my family business. I was a barber, but I was staying in my little bubble in Tuttle, like the town that I was raised in, and because I was comfortable there, but like I kept getting an itch of, man, God's calling me to do something else. Like I had a passion for fitness, and I knew that like I wanted people to experience that same fruit of whenever you do invest into yourself and you show up to the gym and you eat good foods. But I was scared to get out of the bubble and get into the comfortability that I was in. But I knew that I wanted to do something greater for my wife and to set us up for success in the long run. And so and then, man, my wife, like, she's a dog. Like, she pushes me to get out of my comfort zone. And so she kind of, talked me up enough and enough prayers from God to get me out of my comfort zone. And that's what landed me here. And branching off into that is that's whenever I got around you, and you're not a yes man at all. Like you've seen areas in me where it's like, man, dude, you could be a more elite version of yourself if you would do this instead, or if you would, get yourself out of your comfort zone in this way. And you always spoke life into me and pushed me. And that's what even made me the version I am now, because it impacted me as far as, what music that I listen to, the things that I show up to now, having the Bible study here at the gym. And then you pushed me to get into the GA. And for the longest time, I was like, dude, I'm already, working at the gym. And at the time I was still cutting hair out in Tuttle. And so I just had limited time and limited capacity. But you're like, bro, I promise you, if you play this game, the plate that you feel like is full right now, I'm about to give you a bigger plate, and you're going to have a lot more room to put a lot more things on that plate. And, eventually I just released that grip, and like now, like I couldn't imagine playing the game any different. And it's just, but to go back to answer that question, man, it was just who I started to surround myself around, of not a bunch of yes men and a bunch of weak men. It was dudes that would tell me what I needed to hear. And, that ultimately got me out of my comfort zone and created the version that you knew I was capable of being.
Yeah, so inside the Girl Alliance, we've created ways that men can't hide. So like Christian was saying, I'm asking questions on Fridays to see what your biggest wins are, so we can shift our focus off of how far we have to go and actually see some progress. We have a gamified system in a way that we're doing things, meaning that like we have a scoring system when it comes to our core four, our morning routine, the first thing in the morning, so we can tap into power. When it comes to production inside of business and career, where it comes with the door and our general's tent. And we have a scoring system that at the end of the week, we can look back at and go like, okay, this dude out of 60 points got 55, 56 points, whatever it may be. This guy's playing at a high level versus the guys that are coming in that are maybe scoring in the 15s or the 20s or something. You can see a drastic distance between the man that is showing up and hitting and doing and following through and playing the game all out versus the man that's halfway playing the game. You can see a big time difference there. And that's ultimately the day in and day out of knowing that like someone's going to be watching, somebody's going to be asking. And, uh, and that makes a big change because your mind, and let's say this all the time, your mind's the happiest when it's making progress. And so that's really what we want to look at is it's like the brotherhood is not a bonus. It's something that you need. It's a non-negotiable. You have to have it. And if you don't have that, I would tell you to seek one, and there's a couple of things that I can help you out with that to help you seek a different community, a different brotherhood. Relentless Faith Bible Experience every Tuesday at 6:15 p.m. Central Time. I do that online. If you go to any of my bios on Instagram or on Facebook, it's seth.p.humphrey. You can click there and into my bio and be able to find the Relentless Faith Bible Experience. The other thing that we are starting is I just see a lot of guys that struggle with discipline and just being transparent. A lot of guys jump in the program with us and they get started, and it's like sometimes it could be a fire hose to the face, and they can't absorb everything that we're putting out. And so that's why I create Unbreakable 28. That starts to help you tap into confidence and discipline, but also starts changing your identity and the way that you see yourself. And when you start to follow through for just 28 days, you start to set a version of yourself that you want to kill off, whether that be alcohol or porn or whatever it is. You start to see that version that you're trying to kill off. But then on the other side of that, you have a gamified way of being able to see that you're actually making progress and you're following through. And now what starts to happen is you start to become a different guy, and you actually start getting eager to like, what's the next level? How can we take this up another level? And that's where we go into the 42-day build different. That 42-day build different moves into 90 days of game to 180, where we start building targets in every area of life for 90 days. And then that will lead us sooner or later to our impossible games. And that's the have it all version, where we're starting to, in every area of life, get clarity on the man that God's creating us to be, but also then having a plan and action steps to actually work to get to that guy. And yeah, and that's ultimately what we're trying to do is like, there's a long time what is my God-given mission when it comes to the Girl Alliance? And that's all it is taking guys and helping them understand and realize that they're leaking power, leaking energy, leaking confidence, leaking certainty, leaking money because they're not doing these little simple things that they just need some small pivots that could help them level up in a major way. And so that's what we do inside of the Guerrilla Alliance. And so I'd love to get you either inside of Unbreakable 28 or get you inside. That's where I send the majority of guys is just go to Relentless Faith Bible Experience, get around me for a little bit. And then once you get around me for a little bit, a couple different things you'll see is one, I give a damn on another level. Two, I'm me. There's no, you get the same version of me on my story, the same version of me in live and in person, and same thing on those calls. I just love being able to pour into guys and try to help them out. When I get a guy like the other day, I get a guy who's been Scott, who's been jumping on the Relentless Faith Bible Experience. He's been jumping on it each week. We had a consultation about a month and a half ago, and I just directed him to, hey, just show up here first and let's get started with this. He's shown up every week, and now he's bringing other guys. And so it starts to get exciting. It starts to get fun. And it's 6:15 p.m. on a Tuesday. It's not the earliest, right? But it's something that when I get more guys in it and more guys around me, because the first of the year when I switched the times, I was by myself. I was alone doing it. There was like nobody else there, and I was having to like go, okay, well, I'm gonna still shoot this. I'm gonna still put it out there to everybody, and sooner or later. And so, we built it up now to where we had like 10 to 12 guys on there. Now there's I won't say it, that 5 to 7 guys jump on now. And so And that'll continue to build, and I continue to know that if I continue to show up and just push guys to get better and get around other guys, that they'll slowly start to see that not only do they perform better, but they feel better. Yeah, that's what I see with you. Like, it's funny is like I used to be the guy that would go, because you raised your hand and said, "Hey, I want to start to be able to pray over people." And then so
Yeah.
like I started to push you, and like I'd call you out on the prayer. Now I like graduated you, and then I graduated you, then now everybody's still like, "Oh, Christian, you pray." So it's fun seeing guys transform and become the most elite version of themselves. And the cool part of that is we never get there. You're never going to
Always
get to
something to
that
work
place.
on.
Yeah, there's always, and that's ultimately what I love about what we do inside the GA and just my life. This is my life. I've been doing it for almost 11 years now. So
Yeah.
it's game changer. So get around other individuals and quit trying to play this game alone. The lone wolf will go hungry. Christian, you want to give your where they can find
Yeah,
you?
my handle. Yeah, you guys can find me on Instagram underscore or boo underscore train six. So all things fitness and nutrition, you can find me there.
And then mine's Seth.P.Humphrey. And you can find me on Instagram or Facebook. And in the bio, you can find the Relentless Faith Bible Experience. You can message me for the Unbreakable 28, and we will go from there. I appreciate you guys. Have a fantastic day, and hope to see you on the other side.
This is a relentless game.